All right, everyone, here's some disturbing news. Link in the description, archived, of course. Public schools are effectively helping kids to transgender themselves without parental consent and even without parental knowledge. There have been several examples of this throughout the United States. You can peruse the article at your leisure. Um, as somebody who has I don't have any problem with gay people, certainly not. I don't have any problem with lesbians, and any straight man that tells you that he does is probably lying to you. Actually, I like lesbians a lot. Uh, Bisexuality, maybe you're asexual. I don't really care about these things. They mean nothing to me. I don't care if you dress in drag as long as you're not reading the sphincterbation book to the kids in the school. But when schools, taxpayer-funded public schools, are facilitating kids into making life-changing decisions without the parents' consent, that is problematic. The parents should be involved. And by the way, to parents out there, you need to get more involved in your kids' lives. You need to be there for them more. Because otherwise, this shit happens. This is just a repeat of critical race theory. Critical race theory was being taught in schools for years and years, and nobody seemed to have noticed it. And a handful of people that did notice, as usual, get called tinfoil hat nutters. They get called batshit. They were right, though. Schools were beginning to teach, effectively, a racial version of communism to kids. Wrote a book about it. It's literally nothing more than communism where you've taken out the class war and put in the race war. It's exactly the same in every other variation. All of the teachings are basically the same. They were teaching this in public schools. Our tax money was going to indoctrinate kids into a racially based version of communism, sort of like American communism, I suppose you could call it, which is abhorrent and terrible and makes no sense. But anyway, they were teaching this in schools, and parents, because they're generally uninvolved with their children's education for the most part, didn't even know it was happening. All of a sudden, a few school board meetings happen, and then the independent media gets a hold of this story, so people like you and me, and started talking about it. And oh boy, the liberals were just fucking ass raped. I mean, they figured that they would get away with it. We would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you rotten YouTubers. It was basically the reaction. And then, my book sold thousands of copies, and I was very proud of myself, and it was very happy. But they were teaching communism, but nobody knew it. And so they couldn't really take steps to countermand it because they didn't know it was actually going on. All of a sudden, little Jimmy started talking about how he loved Joseph Stalin, and his mom went to the school board meeting to find out why, and the rest was history, basically. The same is true of this. Kids should be respected. They have bodily autonomy. There's a reason why we have, for instance, age of consent laws. A child can't buy a beer. They can't buy a pack of cigarettes. They can't sign up for war. Well, I think with 16, I don't know. I don't remember what the cutoff is now. And they probably will use child soldiers at some point. They can't sign a contract. They can't drive a car. They can't do all sorts of things because we understand as a society they're not ready to be able to do these things. I don't want 10-year-olds driving cars. That's probably a bad decision. There's plenty of teenagers that already can't drive a fucking car. Trust me, I see it all the time in Rutland. And as far as contracts, dude, there's a whole debate over whether 18-year-olds should even be able to sign up for student loans under contraction. The liberals are the ones that brought that one up. I'm kind of on the fence on that issue, actually, because it is kind of, yeah, it's a little bit abusive. Hey, you're 18. Here, take out $40,000 of debt. Yeah, it is a little bit weird, the American system, as far as that goes. I will acknowledge the liberals on that one are fundamentally possibly correct, although I don't know how they're going to fix the issue without more socialism. That seems to be their solution to every single fucking problem. Here's what I would say, though. Schools should not be involved in giving hormones to kids, um, referring them to a medical institution where they can privately transgender themselves, stuff like that. Let them become adults. Some of these kids are not trans at all. They don't have gender dysphoria or anything like that. In some cases, it's literally just peer pressure. This also happens with all of the other gender spectrum so-called bullshit. What happens is that it becomes fashionable, and so they follow along with it because, they want to be accepted and shit. In some cases, you have especially white people who have been beaten down by society as being evil colonial aggressors and shit like that by the left for decades. And so they say, well, you know what? Yeah, I might have white privilege, but if I trans myself, well, then all of a sudden I'm part of an entirely different category now, aren't I? So they've swapped out race, it seems, for gender at this point in the war for communism, which is literally what it is. This is an element of communism. You're trying to erase identity altogether, to eliminate the concept of gender, to eliminate these concepts, and to selectively embrace them in order to break people apart to take over society. That's basically what's happening right now. Public schools should not be involved in this. I don't want my tax money going to this sort of thing. And I'm sure that the state of Vermont is complicit here because Vermont is heavily blue. So I wouldn't be surprised what's happening in these schools too. Mm, I can guarantee it's not happening in the school that I went to because that one services an area that's relatively red. So I don't think they'd get away with it. But Burlington, yeah, it's probably happening up there. Oh, Jimmy wants to become Sally? That's perfectly fine. We won't tell your parents. Now come in here and strip off your clothes. Some of this is also literal perverts that are operating in broad daylight with the blessing of the legal system, by the way. It's amazing that this is allowed to go on. I never thought that I would see the day that liberals would be defending a dude dressed as a woman baring their private parts to kids while talking to them about sphincter baiting. I mean, that would be like a 4chan meme 10 years ago or something like that. It'd be like, ha ha ha, this absurdism. Well, it's not so absurd now, is it? Critical race theory, same thing. All of these other things that are happening in society that are so sickening. I am not a moralist. You may have noticed that. I don't give a shit what you do in the bedroom. Literally, I don't give a shit. I don't care if you want to spray fecal matter on each other's faces, in a gangbang or something like that. Whatever gets you off. Just leave the kids alone. That's the only thing that I'm asking. I don't think that that's moralistic. For some reason, this has become a right-wing point of view. I'm asking you not to talk to 8th graders about fingering their assholes. That's literally all I'm asking. It's not that very much after all, now is it? That's about all. Peace out.